Alright, yeah, welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today is a special day. We're actually returning to Standard Brawl, a format that we haven't really touched recently. I know I've been playing quite a fair bit of Standard 2022, and we're going to be playing a fair bit more of it in the future as well, so don't you worry there. But yeah, I think it's time that we took a little bit of a break from it so that we don't kind of wear ourselves out on it to try out one of our old formats, and that's going to be Standard Brawl here. We're going to be playing around with Xanathar Guild Kingpin today. 6 mana 5/6. At the beginning of your upkeep, you choose an opponent. Until the end of the turn, that player cannot cast spells, and you may look at the top card of their library at any time. You may play the top card of their library, and you may spend mana as though it was mana of any colour to cast spells this way. This is an absurd effect, and it basically means that you can Lantern Control your opponent out of the game. For those who don't know what Lantern Control is, it's a modern deck that nobody likes, which, you know, I have a certain love for, but only as the person piloting it and not so much getting it piloted against. That basically says that you get to dictate what's on top of your opponent's library. So if our opponent is empty-handed, what we can do with Xanathar is hopefully, at least, and in my experience it has been successful, play the top card of your opponent's library until you reveal a land, and then just let them draw the land for the turn. And then you do that over and over and over again until your opponent has drawn lands 5 times in a row, and you're playing their win cons at the same time. It's disgusting. It's frankly hurtful, honestly, but here we are. That's our win con. We do have some alternatives in here. I should mention we're in a blue-black control shell for this one. So we've got lots of counter magic, lots of removal spells. The idea being that we're going to run our opponent out of resources, and then we're going to use their future resources to win the game. We do have some alternative win cons in the deck as well, some new D&D sets as well. We've got Modern Canaan, we've got Ashiok, Nightmare Muse, and we've got Imarith as our main ways of winning the game. So Imarith, the Desert Doom, is a 5 mana 5/5 with flying. It has Ward 4 as long as it's untapped, so as long as you're not attacking with it, your opponent's spells are countered unless they pay 4, which is kind of nice. It means that they've got to attack it at instant speed on their turn quite a fair bit of the time. You can also protect it when you need to protect it, so if you can't keep it alive, you keep it untapped, so you have that extra ward ability, which is really nice. So it at least sticks around for quite some time. When it deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card, and then if you've got fewer than 3 or more cards in hand, you draw cards equal to the distance. So you draw up to 3, or you draw a card. This is great, because if you top deck it and you're really far behind, one Imarith hit is going to be all it takes to get you right back in the game again. Drawing 3 cards is pretty dope, especially when you don't have to put 2 back, Brainstorm looking at you. We got Ashiok Nightmare Muse. I'm sure most of you know what this one does by now. 5 mana Planeswalker, makes 2 3s that exile, and you can play those with the ultimate. And then the minus also bounces a permanent and forces your opponent to exile a card from their hands, so you can really tempo swing your opponent there. And Modern Canaan, one of my favourite Planeswalkers in recent memory. It's kind of giving me Teferi vibes with its own kind of unique identity as well. It's a 6 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. For the +2, you get to draw 2 cards and then put a card from your hand on the bottom of your library. So if you've got a dead card in your matchup, just stick it right to the bottom. We don't have a great deal of ways of shuffling our library, so once it's gone for good, and you don't really ever have to see it ever again. The -2 gives you a blue dog illusion creature token with this creature's power and toughness equal to twice the number of cards in your hand, which is amazing. We're not often going to be empty-handed. In fact, we're going to have quite a fair few cards in our hands, so for every card getting 2 power and an illusion that gets to protect Modern Canaan is really good. And the fact that we can +2 and then -2, and then +2, -2, means that we can use that as our win con as such. The -10 exchanges your hand and your library, and then you shuffle and get no maximum hand size. It's an option. You could do that. I don't think you probably ever need to. The plus and the minus here are more than enough to win the game, so I would probably just focus on them more than anything. 9 times out of 10, though, with this deck, you're going to be just winning with Xanathar. This is a tilt factory right here. Your opponents are not going to be able to stand drawing 3 lands in a row with Xanathar, and it happens. I've had extremely good success with this deck so far, and hopefully today's footage will showcase that as it is. And yeah, I think that's essentially all I'm going to talk about. We got removal, we've got hand disruption, we check for traps, and we got board wipes. It's a little bit of a snow package as well, so blood on the snow. If you've got 6 snow permanents, you can destroy all creatures or planeswalkers, and then bring back Xanathar, which is nice. We got Graven Law, which, again, I'm going to put that over in the win con pile, to be honest. Scry X, where X could be 5 or less, and then you get to draw 3 cards at instant speed as well. So a Scry 5, draw 3 is going to get you everything you need to win the game. Pretty much every time. I'm going to be playing around with Contact the Other Plane. It's probably a bad idea, but it's new, so I'm going to play around with new cards. But yeah, that's essentially the game, the deck, and hopefully you enjoy the gameplay. Let's get to it. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alright, we're in, and I'd say this hand looks pretty reasonable, to be honest. It's got counter magic, it's got card draw and removal spells, pretty much everything Dimir Control's looking for, as well as a decent mana base here as well. So we'll lead off with the Ice Tunnel and pass the turn. We're up against Beladros Witherbloom, 7 mana 4/4 with flying. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green Pesh creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life, and then you can pay 10 life to untap all the lands you control, but you can only do it once a turn. Opponent's gone with the Gilded Goose. We could kill that in order to stop our opponent from accelerating. Or we could just go with Foretelling Behold the Multiverse. I guess right now we don't really need more cards than what we have, so let's kind of try and slow our opponent down a little bit. Could do that in the form of hitting the Gilded Goose here, but I kind of have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to be able to get... Well, they're going to go with Arcane Signet. I actually am going to kill the Goose here, then. Die, Goose, die. Even float some mana. Get rid of that. They can play a 2-drop now if they want. It's going to be a Florahedron. Yeah, fair enough. Alright, so... yeah, next turn they're almost certainly going to play something I want to counter, so let's go with Island Go. At this rate, it looks like we're just going to 4 mana the Behold the Multiverse, which is fine. So, here's big ol' 5-drop. Nope. You can get rid of my card draw here. Yep. I don't really hate that too much. Our opponent's now going to probably try and bait out the Essence Scatter, but we've just drawn a Heartless Act, so we can let things resolve if they don't have like a ETB trigger and things like that. Yeah, I think we're just going to say go. Evolving Wilds. Interesting to see if they hit me for 1 here. Yeah, they're thinking about it. Yeah, certainly thinking about it. Elder GG. Now... yeah, that doesn't ETB, and it dies to Heartless Act here, so we're going to kill it that way. Alright. We're almost at Xanathar mana now. Got 3 blue. Let's get 3 black. I'm wondering whether or not we just jam Xanathar the moment we get the chance, which in this case is next turn. Because we can counter basically anything they try to resolve here. Which could just be their Beladros. And then we've got to contend with the cards they've got left in hand at that point. They're going to go with Balaged Recovery. We're going to let that happen so they can Black a Predationers. And then we'll negate that. There we go, pretty good. Field of Ruin. Alright, I think card in hand, card off the top. To me, that seems worth going for Xanathar here. Belladros comes down. They can pay the 10 life if they want to untap. They chose not to. So Witherbloom command is on top. Destroy non-creature, non-land permanent with mana value. That's okay. We could do that. Get rid of the Florahedron and the Arcane Signet. So do that, do that. This. Sure to use our Field of Ruin mana. And then we've got a Snarl on top. Could just let our opponent draw that Snarl. That's the one upside of this commander, is that you can essentially just kind of screw your opponent over by making them draw nothing but lands. So we're going to go with Imarith here. They didn't have an answer to Xanathar, or at least I don't think they did. And this will be a great way for us to refuel. I suppose we could have actually attacked him there. Our opponent just trays off a Flora little token, but... Yep. They draw the land, and that's that. Yeah, I might have played a little bit sloppy there. In fact, I'm sure I probably did. The Gilded Goose line was a wee bit questionable in terms of doing it at a specific time. Should have done it like upkeep maybe, so they didn't get to use the mana after that. But yeah, it worked out in the end, and victory is achieved. On to the next one. Alrighty, a commander we haven't seen in quite some time, and this hand is awkward. Our opponent's commander is basically a creature deck, but I guess we can attack their hand a little bit and have the board wipe with exile-based removal as well. So it's not the worst hand in the world. I'm going to keep it, especially being on the play. I think we can be quite proactive, maybe hit something on 2 that they might want to play next turn. So let's check for traps. Exile a card. Whatever we discard, which is really nice. So our opponent has a Toski, which is kind of annoying. They don't really have anything, actually, as it turns out. Sounds kind of just bad. We could hit the Amiria's Call just to eat a land drop from them, but they've got 3 land drops coming up. I don't think that's really going to be a concern. I might just go with the Dryad, because they might get a double land drop off that. I'll slow them down a little bit. Toski is annoying, but Extinction Event deals with it. So land, and they just drew a 2-drop. Yeah, hate to see it. So now they would have gone with their Dryad, but we took that away from them. They could mutate with Gemrazor, but it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, we're going to Extinction Event them next turn, because we get Fiend Artisan and probably Toski at the same time. They actually didn't have the double green for Gemrazor now that I think about it. So they get a card here. We're going to even them up. Clearing the board of creatures and keeping their graveyard empty for their Nethroi. And I wonder whether or not we could go with Xanathar here. We don't really have a good alternative right now, necessarily. Like, Gemrazor is fine. Like, I could bounce it back to their hand with Ashiok. They could just replay it. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, if we went Xanathar and they killed it, we could Blood on the Snow, wiping their board and reanimating Xanathar from our graveyard, which I don't hate. Oof. That's the thing. Should I just block then to get Xanathar in the graveyard? I'm just wondering what my alternative really is. It's like I can bounce it for a turn with the Ashiok minus, and then have negate open for it. Maybe that's worthwhile. Firing a board wipe here just feels quite bad, to be honest. So let's go Ashiok. With negate backup. Let's bounce the transformation, which we will counter next turn. Got a 5/6 to keep the Ashiok around on the Gem Razor block here. Got rid of a swamp. Alright, so this could go really well for us. It could also go very badly. If it goes very well for us, though... yeah, I mean, that's totally fine. Because I'm not really going to fight over Ashiok when I'm going to fight over Xanathar on this transformation instead. So we'll just let that go. Our opponent will try to transform. We'll say no here. And then their follow-up's not all that fantastic, to be honest. If we get to start playing around with the top of their deck and make them have land drops for the rest of the game. Oh, they had Heartless Act as well. Ooh, that's a stinger. Xanathar costs 6, so it cost 8 on the way back. I'll put him in the command zone for now. Erebos' intervention. Yep, totally fine. There's Murderous Rider. We don't care. And then I think we're just going to -X -XU, so 5, 6. Send that. Gain a lot of life. Back up to 20. Land drop's really great for us here. Sublime Epiphany. Alright. Could either use that, which we probably will on the Nyx Bloom Ancient here, to counter it. Bounce their Murderous Rider? No, probably don't want to do that. And draw a card. If I do that, I give them Swift End for Xanathar. And we don't currently have the answer to that. So I'll just accept that they have a 2/3 here. That's pretty reasonable. So this gets power 10 or less, so they can go ahead and get their board back if I don't hold an answer to it. So I could do this plus the kicker, which gives me Essence Scatter for Nethroi, which I think is better than Modern Canaan, because our opponent's going to tap out for it almost certainly. And now we have Xanathar to follow up with, hopefully. Mystical Dispute. It's not a blue card, unfortunately. But I think with Blood on the Snow, we don't really care about our opponent going for the Nethroi here. They're going to be mostly tapped out, so I don't think Nyx Bloom Ancient's going to do much. Gem Razor doesn't get to come back and mutate. Going to make my counter spells no longer work. Fair enough. And now I get a turn with the top of their deck. Let's have a look. What have you got? Nightmare Shepherd. That seems worthy of a cast. Necropanther. Whenever this mutates, return a creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. We don't have that. But neither do they. So that doesn't bother me so much. Well, if I Blood on the Snowed right now, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that, except for it's a 1/1. So I could make sure Xanathar goes to exile and then back as a 1/1. Is that how that would work, or would I just lose my dude forever? And you're 7 mana, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus the 1, 2, so you wouldn't be able to pay for the Mystical Dispute. Yet I can't really do anything with the Mystical Dispute because they've got a Destiny Spinner. So I think I'll go Modern Canaan. Opponent's going to mill. No, Plains on top. We'll let them draw that Plains. And then I think we'll just make a 4/4 here. So they drew a Plains. They get to do a little bit of their thing. And they've got, is it 3 mana? Because it triples. 3 times as much, yeah. They've got 3 mana to play with. I get to Blood on the Snow, get my Xanathar back, and get rid of everything else. But we get to see what's on top of their deck first as well, which is nice. So, a little bit of Sir Conrad triggering. Anywhere other than the battlefield. Alright, so let's just jump here. That way we get a Modern Canaan trigger to follow up with. Top of your library is another land. We're totally fine with that. They do actually get quite a fair few triggers off this Blood on the Snow, but I think it's still worth doing. I'm not playing their Plains because I want them to draw it. So I guess I just destroy all creatures. Gemrazor has reach. Maybe they give me that. I don't know, I kind of want the Nightmare Shepherd thing. I want to figure out whether or not... Well, actually, I shouldn't bring back with Nightmare Shepherd, because this is going to bring back... Now they're drawing an Arcane Signet. So I want to bring back Xanathar. They get some triggers here. Again, we're totally fine with them drawing just a mana source here with the Arcane Signet, so we're just going to tick up.
Leave me be. I'm reading.
Put the land back. And pass the turn. Opponent's going to draw nothing relevant, which is how we like it. Wow, Xanathar is a dirty win con. Good lord. You really don't need much else if you Lantern control your opponent out the game. They're going to scoop to this. Yeah. Just Lantern control your opponent. Don't get greedy with the top of their deck. As long as the only thing they draw for the rest of the game is lands, your victory is guaranteed. And yeah, I think we've kind of proven the point there. A little bit sketchy towards the end. I mean, we got down to 6 with the Sir Conrad, but I think we messed around with that. I didn't really want to risk the Nightmare Shepherd line, to be honest. I'm sure I could probably get back a Xanathar and get back an Ashiok instead, but at the risk of Xanathar just permanently being in exile, because I think that's how that's worded, it's a bit of a weird one. I'm sure you'll let me know down in the comment section below anyway, because you put it in exile, but I guess then it's a... Actually, it would be a change of zones, which then allows you to put it back into the command zone. So it goes from the graveyard to exile to command zone, I think, if you use the Nightmare Shepherd. I don't really know, though. I don't really know. It's not in my deck for a good reason, because that's confusing. But yeah, on to the next game. Alrighty, we're in, and we're up against Xanathar the Trickster, so probably Rogue's Tribal with a kind of tempo control style to it. This hand is so close to being good, except for the fact that it has no blue mana, so I think I'll take the free mull on that. And this is a 3-lander with interaction. I think I'm going to keep this one, and we'll lead off with Island. I don't know if I'm going to use the Jawari's Disruption as a land yet. It depends on our top decks, and our top decks say that the answer to that is probably no. We're going to use it as a spell to counter something maybe here. Not here, okay. Well, land go. Maybe they're playing around Jawari's Disruption as well. Would be the smart call if they have a, what is it called, That's a Relic Golem. Can't attack or block unless their opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Target player mills 2. Let's just bounce that. That means I can potentially use my Disruption as a land drop, which I think is really important here. And we've still kind of tempo swinged our opponent. If they want to play it again, I'll just kill it normally. With the Heartless Act I've just drawn. Deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. No. Not happening. Land, please. Land. There we go. Alright, so here we're going to go straight in with an Ashiok Nightmare Muse. Taking advantage of our opponent being tapped out. So we've got an aggressive line here, we've got a defensive line. Opponent has a Soul Shatter, not too bad for us. The question is, what do we do in this scenario? Because we could play the Xanathar, but it has to survive a turn. Miscast and Essence Scatter. The alternative is we just go Modern Canaan. Kind of like Modern Canaan. I think anything that kills him is going to kill Xanathar, so we get that out of our opponent's hand. And then let's not play into Extinction Event. Let's actually get some card advantage. Get it to replace itself. Opponent's had enough of that. Fair enough. Looks like they were kind of on a more mill shell with a couple of rogues here and there. Yeah, fair enough. There's many Xanathar the Trickster lines that you could take with this one. I like draw go control when it comes to Xanathar. It's certainly not the most pleasant experience to go up against, but it's one that I find to be particularly effective. I think the most popular, though, is just doing Rogue Tribal, which, to be honest, I don't know if Xanathar really lends itself to Rogue Tribal as such, because there's not really a relevant line of text on this card that mentions rogues in any way, which is kind of why I lean against it. But this card can just turn your opponent's win cons into your win cons, similar to Xanathar, actually, so they play very similar, and I can see why the game would matchmake me up against it, because we're practically playing the same deck. But yeah, let's go for another one. Ooh, this matchup's going to be interesting. This hand, on the other hand, less interesting. We're on the draw. We've got plenty of counter spells. Problem is, all of our lands are tapped. We could go with the Temple to try and find an untapped land, and if we find it, we basically just win. And any delays that we make could be dealt with using the Eliminate. I think we actually keep this hand. And you just have to hope that this Temple shows you an untapped land. I think that's the line. Our opponent is playing Tiamat. Oh, there's an untapped land. Look at that. It's a painful one, but an untapped land nonetheless. So our opponent's on 5 colours, playing Tiamat, Wooburg, and 2. We're definitely paying 3 here, so we have access to all of our tools. So we got Disdainful Stroke, which we can't use, Essence Scatter or Jawari's Disruption. Both of those should be able to hit something here. Anyway, Woobergen 2, for a 7/7 with flying, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, search your library for 5 dragon cards not named Tiamat that each have different names. Reveal them and put them into your hand, and then shuffle. So, I did go ahead and throw out my land there. It might not have been the right decision, honestly. Maybe Solundi Vision would have been more correct, because then we have 4 mana untapped next turn. So we have our double counterspell, or we have Contact Other Plane. So that might be a bad idea, but this does allow me to have a hard counter with Saw It Coming, which isn't irrelevant. Omen of the Hunt. So they search for a basic and then shuffle. So they could be on 5 mana next turn. If I counter this, I'm sure the follow-up is far worse, because the Eliminate doesn't hit whatever they would tap out for, really. They could play 4 drops with 1 mana open. Not entirely certain what they could be, but yeah, I think something like this is a perfectly acceptable disruption. Land, please. Oof. Alright, so we'll play the Sulundi Isle tapped. We'll pass the turn. Still got double hard counter. Any land, I think, means that they've got 5 mana. Yeah. Yeah. Well, do we actually... I think we actually might just take the hard counter here. As a more mana-efficient line, essentially. I don't think any triple black, but I have a lot of blue, so maybe I just want to put this on black so we have a double black plus single black option. That certainly could happen. If our opponent plays nothing, we draw some cards. Yeah, that's fine. Play all the mana you want. You're going to have to play something relevant to get the counters out of my hand. That dies to eliminate, so we're going to let that go. And then let's hope to hit a 10 to 19 here. Oh, so close. So close to failure. I will take 1 land here. I will take 2 lands. I'll take 3 lands, in fact. Wow, I raise you the highest stakes ever. Yeah, I mean, let's pass the turn. Gotta wait until our opponent's nice and low on cards before we fire off the Xanathar. Because otherwise we can get blown out quite hard. Icing Death, Frost Tyrant. Realm Walker. So that can play dragons off the top. That isn't realistically going to happen here, though, I don't think. There's the Icing Death. I think we'll now hit it with... Let's hit it with a Disdainful Stroke. And then we're going to hit the Bloodline... No, we're going to hit the Realm Walker, because we're going to try and manipulate the top of our opponent's library here. So I think it benefits me to make sure that Realm Walker can't do anything relevant. 3, 6, 7... is this the turn where we play Xanathar, knowing that they could play Tiamat? I don't think it is. I think we wait until we can either counter Tiamat here, or Xanathar plus Essence Scatter. I think they're just going to go for the Tiamat. And honestly, I think neutralizing it is the correct line. They're a creature deck. I can't hold up and neutralize next turn, and I think that's my plan. So Xanathar comes down with Essence Scatter back up. 6 toughness is going to be hard for them to kill, I would think. I don't see them really being a board wipe deck. Dragon's Disciple. Yep, that's fine. Dragons have Ward 1. If that's the line they're taking, I don't have too many concerns. Yeah, that's also fine. They're trying to bait out an answer, and I'm just not going to give it to them. And I think they realise that once I untap, I get to dictate what's on top of their library. We will basically just give them lands, and I guess they do have the Omen of the Hunt, which has a sack scry. Got to be aware of that, but drawing a fresh card, we've got the Behold the Multiverse to draw more, answer to their commander, and even got a scry in the Vantress there, so yeah. I don't really think we're gonna lose that game, and I think our opponent agrees, so pretty sweet. Let's go for one more game, I think. Alrighty, we're in and on the play. This hand is... What is this hand to me? Mystical Dispute attacks Volos. That's pretty good. I think I like this hand. Yeah, we're going to keep it. Question is, do I throw out the Solundi Vision first and foremost? And then once I've decided that, we'll talk about our opponent's commander, one that I'm very excited to build around as well in the future. I think we're just going to go with Temple of Deceit here. Our opponent is a creature-based deck, so I think I'm going to take the Heartless Act. So our opponent's playing Volo, Guide to Monsters, a 4-mana 3/2 that says whenever you cast a creature spell that does not share a type with a creature you control or a card in your graveyard, copy that spell. Which basically means as long as the... hang on just a second. Yes, fine. I think we're going to go with Solundi Isle. As long as the card is unique in these keywords here, so for a fact you cannot play humans or wizards, then you get double versions of them, which is dope. Let's check for traps. Let's see what you got over there. They haven't played anything. Is there a reason for that? They've got an Uro here. We can steal that. Yeah, I think that's better than hitting the Midnight Clock, which is technically a problem, but Uro comes back. Let's get it exiled. Take one. So I'm assuming they're going to play the Midnight Clock here, which I can Mystical Dispute. I'm totally fine with that. Volo comes down next turn and it just dies, so no concerns there. Fabled Passage. Probably Snow-Covered Island. They want to have all the snow-covered lands that they can get here for this Icebreaker Kraken. So we're going to hit this with a... Demon, Devil, or Dragon. I think I'll actually hit with the Heartless Act. They're more likely to have a counter-based synergy, because for a fact I know that they do have a counter-based creature in their hand. So let's make sure that we have a good answer to that at some point. Thrashing Brontodon. We don't care about that. Not unless our opponent plans on running their own artifacts and enchantments to kill. So if we drew a land, we get to play Xanathar. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6 mana max. They don't... Short of a top deck, don't have a good answer to Xanathar. So let's scry for a land. Not really what I had in mind. This is technically a land, but technically doesn't get me where I want to be. And where I want to be is winning. Well, an Imerith's not bad. It's a win con. Rawr. So, yeah, they would have drawn a tap land, so if we'd have got Xanathar down there, it would have been completely uncontested. Opponent's gonna equip the Shadow Spear and pass, as you might expect. I think it's still a good time to Xanathar if we can draw the land. So let's get in with Imerith. Draw a card. Whiff. We can eliminate the Thrashing Brontodon. We've got Counter Magic open. We've got basically nothing to concern ourselves with here. I mean, how much do I even care about this Thrashing Brontodon right now? I don't think I do, really. I could get rid of it just so that they play, like, anything else, but... I guess so. I'm not enthusiastic about it, as hopefully that sound would dictate. And yeah, let's just counter Volo. I don't think we're going to get empty-handed for Immerse to draw us several cards, but could work towards that. The opponent's had enough. I think they realise that nothing they do will resolve, and yeah, that's going to do it. So Kraken, spiders, elephants, got dinosaurs. So they had a pretty decent package. I think the reason you can play Thrashing Brontodon is because it's an arena card. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's why. There's like in the starter packs, they've like randomly reprinted some stuff. Elder Giants, so they couldn't have any more giants in there. Or they probably don't anyway. It's a really fun deck building experience that I'm looking forward to trying out. I'm sure our opponent was before we dashed their hopes and made them want to quit. But, you know, it is what it is. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this in the future. I think the next time we do come back for some more Brawl, which should be relatively soon, we are going to actually try out Volo Guide to Monsters. So if you want to check that out, subscribe to get the notifications with the bell icons and all that jazz. And yeah, I'll see you all on the battlefield next time. Ta-ta.